Alright, folks. So, on Thursday, the 22nd of January 2026, right? Normal day, everything going good and whatnot, right? We're hearing rumblings about trailer drops and whatnot, but we're also hearing about, the drop of a certain nominations list, right? So, yes, we will be talking about the Oscars, the Oscars 2026, which is the 98th Annual Academy Awards. Their nomination list came out on that day, right? But let's talk quickly about them trailers though, because it was some fairly big trailers, right? So, Masters of the Universe, the first trailer came out, like in the aesthetic, I like in the framing of Adam as, this kid from Grayskull, who is sent to Earth and, he knows about his destiny and it's him going back to, that land and becoming He-Man. Right. I think it's great though.
Yeah, and they flip it back because it is like how the Thing movie was.
Or the old film, which is I don't know, for me it's terrible. Yeah, I think it's terrible.
Movie, so like a flip on that. And they have like enough jokes in it that have man.
Yeah,
like the products thing funny. I don't care.
Yes, that him thing is brilliant. I love that.
That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. Stuff like that. And yeah, well, so the thing is, it's really because, as I say, I come in for the He-Man, but I stayed for the Travis Knight, right? Travis Knight, what make him interesting? Yeah, what make him interesting is that he tends to not, because he's Nike son. He don't really have the same incentive structures, to make a certain thing a certain way. So it's almost entirely a creative endeavor, right? His movies don't make money, let's admit that, but they're creatively interesting enough. I don't think he's some creative genius or anything like that, but he have creative freedom, and I think in some ways more important. And so to see what he's gonna do with the He-Man property is gonna be interesting. And this is coming from somebody who almost all the franchise for the most part. I'm not a big super He-Man fan, but when it show up, I'll enjoy it. I enjoyed I enjoyed the She-Ra Princess of Power show that came out a few years back.
Yeah, on Netflix, and of course the He-Man one as well
Kevin
too.
Smith show.
Yeah, I still have not seen the more kid-friendly one that Netflix also put out, but the more teen version, the one which we talked about, those 2 seasons. Yeah, we talked about them and we praise them.
Yeah, the generally solid show for me. And then my personal favorite, the only version of He-Man I don't like is the 90s He-Man. That was terrible.
Oh yeah, but terrible.
Yeah, but the one that the 2000s one, the early 2000s one, that is probably my personal favorite. I think.
Okay, so I haven't seen that.
Right, yeah, solid show. Like that was a show that I really like. Reference to like take the height of He-Man and feel like that show. I like a live action version of that. And I'm like, okay, that, and then there's the little cast people coming about. Looking interesting. It's like, oh, Idris Elba is Man at Arms, alright. At first I thought it was Milchick, yeah, but when I see the picture, see the video footage.
Alright, yeah, with the mustache, sorry.
Yeah, but it's not him. But it's looking okay. But yeah, I think my only gripe is that it kind of I think it's probably because of COVID or whatever, but it probably missed the moment in terms of 80s nostalgia. Like there's something that feel like it could have come out like 10 years ago. Or even if it came out like 5 years ago, and I'd probably be like, alright, I'd be more hyped for it. But I think 80s nostalgia kind of done. It's time to get into 90s nostalgia now.
I agree, and I mean, look like Stranger Things, which is like the peak of 80s nostalgia. It's done.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So since Stranger Things done, now it's time to get into 90s nostalgia, and I know we now starting to get some 90s nostalgia kick. Like, especially something like X-Men 97 or something like that. So, like, in my head, I was like, if we would get a SWAT Cats movie, I'd be more hype. But it's still looking okay. It's still looking fine. Like, it's still looking decent enough. It's just, I feel it missed the moment. That is all my the concern is. Like, it won't have the hype, it won't have the money, whatever. But 90s nostalgia right now is really it now. I like, well, yeah, like, guess I'm from the 90s instead. To pull out. Like, if Travis Knight was dropping a SWAT Cats movie, this would have way more hype. Yeah, but the He-Man, we're looking fine. They're looking fine, they're looking decent enough. I expect it to be solid enough to finally go and get a solid product out of this. And I'm probably gonna. I'm more like you gonna see this. It was June, I think. So yeah,
June 5th. June 5th, I think. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I'll go and see it. I think that I mean, even though his films don't I should say underperform in the box office, I think that Travis Knight will do a solid enough job, right? Be able to blend the 80s nostalgia with the He-Man franchise has lasted the test of time, and this is why. And I'm gonna celebrate that in film form, right? So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Also, we got a Star Wars that Maul trailer. Okay, so I have not seen the entirety of Clone Wars, so I don't know where Maul's place was in that show. But I am just digging the visuals for this though, especially lighting in this, but I like that you don't really get much of what the story is about. Is this, it's not so much a backstory of Maul, but like I guess it's what happened to him after Phantom Menace. No, sorry, not. Oops, my bad. Probably before the events, like probably right before the events of Phantom Menace, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah,
before. Okay.
Remember Maul died in. Okay, well, all right.
No.
Right. Yeah, because sorry, folks, not versed in all things Star Wars, right? Remember, yes.
Yeah. Remember, he made an appearance in multiple Clone Wars shows. He made an appearance in Solo at the end. Remember that?
Right. Yes.
Alive. He have robot legs or some bullshit for a little while. Yeah. So he was alive. He didn't die. And then he finally died. Well, we know how he finally died. Where Obi-Wan fought him, even as an old man, like he was kind of more machine than anything at that point. But Obi-Wan fought him and take him out real fast. So that was like their final confrontation. So we know he was like a anti-hero in between stuff, and him and his brother, and it's a whole thing. So Clone Wars had a whole arc with him and his brother, and it was pretty good actually. So yeah, I want to see what they're gonna do with it.
Yeah, but my thing though is that I really, really enjoyed the Bad Batch. I would say is one of my favorite Star Wars TV shows. Period, right? But yeah, and it has that look and aesthetic, right? So I am gonna go into this expecting that same level of quality with the storytelling and the animation, right? So I'm not. I'm gonna go in with my expectations kind of high on this one, not too high, of course, right? And then last but not least, a trailer I didn't expect that would have come out on the Oscar day. Invincible season 3. Like what? Right. Like they're dropping this today too? Okay.
Season 4, right?
Yes. Season 4. Yeah. Right. Alright, so loving everything I've seen so far. A hype. But just one thing that not so much I'm a concern, but I just hope they explain it or justify it, right? Mark changes his suit again to the old suit. I thought he was rocking the new one. The trailer starts over there with the new one, but then I think the last shot before the trailer ends is seeing back with the old suit. Like, okay. I thought we sticking with the new suit though, I don't know. But that's more one issue. I'm not sure how that happened or what's gonna happen, but other than that, I just excited, right? But before we jump to the Oscar stuff, did you see the trailer or you're aware that the movie came out?
I saw it. Unfortunately, I don't know for which reasons TikTok kind of spoiled a bunch of this for me in what happened with the comics, and I kind of know what's going to happen with the plotline, and but I'm excited enough for it. The main thing is Lee Pace as Strag, if you know who that is. He's a big hype.
Is he the dude that shows up in the end of the trailer?
And it's pretty much right.
All right. I was wondering who that guy was because I don't know.
This guy's the toughest of the tough.
He looks so. Yeah.
Yeah. This thing of I forget he was a character from before Conquest. Conquest is like strong, but Conquest is not focused. Like imagine we have somebody who focused a lot more intelligent and much stronger than Conquest in many ways. Like he's that to focus the power. He's the best of the best when it comes to the what is I forget the name of the race.
The
Viltrumite race, right? Yeah, he's like the best of the best one on us. And I know they have a big plot line involved with it. They reveal the big reveal at the end of season 3, which is it only have roughly I think a few Viltrumite left, like only like 50 or something.
I think it's in the 50s, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So like, okay, they reveal that already, which is like workable. So, like I'm glad that they reveal that at that point. That was kind of smart. So it's just where the plot line gonna go, and I kind of know where it's gonna go. So people, unfortunately, I get the internet spoiled this for me, but it's more my fault for not logging off and avoiding it. But too much, I don't really care. It's how the anime. The main takeaway is that the animation much better, looks much better at least judging from that trailer. So that will have me excited because the production value was not that great for season 3, to be honest. Clearly, some real blue lock animation kind of vibe going on there. I didn't really know what's good. They had to hire more, spend more money, but whatever. It looked like they got a better animation budget this time around. I hope, unfortunately, they probably didn't use some AI thing to cut corners, so they probably do that, possibly. Don't know, we'll find out. But yeah, that's about that.
Right, right, right. So now for the Oscars. Now for the Oscars, right? So the big thing that people have been like talking about since the list came out, by Sinners, boy, rocking
Right,
16 nominations. I was like,
right.
God damn. And the
It's kind of
Academy
wild.
even dropped, a brand new category called casting. And of course, Sinners got casted it. So just to start with that one time, I think that Sinners will win Best Casting because, yeah, I think that, yeah, the cast in that movie is stellar, though, in my
Yeah,
opinion, right? And just in terms of the acting, right? Of course, you can interject when you're ready, right?
yeah.
Mad points for Delroy Lindo and McGill Wunmi Musako for being nominated for Best Supporting Actor and Actress, right? But I do think that Jacob Elordi will win. Even though, I mean, Delroy, like, look, this man getting nominated. I think the last time he was nominated was for the Five Blood, or I think he was, no, I think he either got
Oh,
nominated for that or he got
he
snubbed for
kind of,
that. I think
so
so.
he's kind of snubbed here. He's kind of
Right,
snubbed for that to
he
be
got
honest.
snubbed for that. But I try to remember if he got an Oscar nom before. So if this is his first time, well,
Right.
okay, cool. If he wins, I'll be happy. Yeah, but
I
I
mean,
really think that Elodie will
since
win it from him.
yeah, but since West Indian actually, in Malcolm X, right? Like it
Yes.
was, yeah, you could, I guess some for that I find even then.
Yeah.
Uh, so is that. I mean, he hyped it, but the whole 16 numbers thing kind of while everybody thinking, well, it gotta like this might reinforce the whole snubbing thing because the last time he had a quote unquote black movie that get that many nominations, or at least relatively was Color Purple now since
All right.
and I get zero, get nothing. So we don't know if that gonna be the case this time. Or I had my head across my mind that kind of nightmare scenario of where they get a reverse Moonlight and some bullshit happen.
Oh Lord.
Yes, some bullshit like that happened. That kind of nonsense. So I don't know. But yeah, this is really interesting news though, right? Mostly because the categories thing. The big news, I find a big takeaway, and we will talk about this with the other movies and what could win or what can't win. Yeah, it's the first time ever that people actually have to watch the effing movies. Um, you know,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
like this, that has always been ridiculous, like absolutely ridiculous. And because you had a set of people who, let's be clear, people who are incredibly entitled, being part of the Oscar process, people who just don't belong there, they ain't working in the industry for ages, but, they're connected to some friend, something, people who just, they was popular back in the day, but they ain't working in the industry in ages, that kind of thing, all kind of nonsense. And finally, they had to watching movies because, we're going to get into this, and this is more scuttlebutt behind the scenes, but I suspected that the Weinsteins is the reason why they had all these perverse incentives of how the Oscars play out because of those strategies, though. And because people know how to watch movies, and you can just advertise a movie and just get people to think a movie more popular than it really is, and so on and so forth, right? All kind of nonsense. I'm really glad that they have at least some sense of merit for the first time in like ever. I don't know if it's ever, but like it's in ages. You had to actually watch the movie, so we'll see if that'll factor into how these movies will play out. So you ain't gonna get bullshit like Crash anymore, or anything like that. Hopefully, at least. My thing is just make the effort. That is my problem. Whatever. Moving on.
Right, right, right. So back to the best supporting actress now. So even though I would love if Wunmi wins, and this is her
Right.
first Oscar nom, by the way, I really think that they will give it to, Regale Tiana Taylor, right?
Yeah.
For one battle after another. Also on a side
Right.
note, she was on SNL last night time was
Right. Right.
recorded
Right.
this. There's a
Right. I
sketch, I
know.
don't know if you saw it, right? But when you do, please tell me the way it's all about, right? There's a one battle after another sketch I thought was
Okay.
so incredibly funny. I don't even gonna
Okay.
spoil it here, but when you see it's like, oh shit, that real hard. I was clapping out there. I was like, that real hard, though, you know what I mean? But yeah, I really think that she will win, just because of how just magnetic who she was on, and just how memorable, I should see, the character was in that film, right? But I legit clap when I hear Michael B. Jordan nominated for Best Actor. And even though
Right.
I would not be surprised if the Academy give the award to Leo, and that could be like his
Right.
second win,
Okay. So they have
I
a big.
rooting for Michael.
No, they have a
Legit
big.
rooting for Michael to win
Yeah, no, they have a
for
big.
that.
They have a big discourse. It's not so much Leo, but the pursuit really the thing is what you call it, Marty Supreme. That's a big push.
Or
Yeah.
Timothy Chalamet.
Chalamet,
Still
right?
haven't
That's
seen it, but
yeah, no,
well, when I do, I could kind of look back at what it is I say and say,
right.
Timothy do, because I
Yeah,
mean
no, no,
when he
Chalamet.
played
I
Bob
mean,
Dylan last, it was like, all right, that was cool, but
yeah,
that Marty
we
Supreme
getting
though,
like
that's something.
yeah, they're pushing him. Yeah, they're pushing him as a big kind of it boy kind of thing. Even though he's not wowing me too much. But since his first movie, he was a great actor. So it's like it's not like he's some schlub and they just pushing up some white boy that kind of crap. No. But it's more like Well, he does not have a look, and my problem is what kind of actor they want to push going forward. In terms of thing. In terms of Michael B. Jordan getting through, yeah, a happy and thing, but like judging from the situation, I really don't think he'll get through. But we'll find out. Time will tell.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Sticking with Sinners a little bit more, right? I said this before. When I was talking about friggin' Frankenstein, right? We'll get to Frankenstein in a bit, right? I am rooting for Ryan Coogler to win Best Original Screenplay. Love the script for Sinners. The only when I rewatched it, I was like, wow, that story and just structurally though is superb though. Like just how it's just all the elements and how it just all came together, right? Absolutely love the script for this, right? He is nominated for Best Director though. I mean, mad props to Ryan, right? But sorry, PTA gonna win that. Like no ifs, ands, or buts. PTA gonna win that. I honestly think that. I mean, man never won for Best Director before. Never won, right?
Yeah, I mean, is he okay? Which win last time and he didn't get through? Who director get through? Right, I think it's Guillermo. It's one of those you're pushing yourself up kind of. Oh no, Nolan. Sorry. I was thinking who pushing himself up for a hot minute and then finally get it. And one battle after another, really like designed for that crowd, the Oscar crowd. Let me admit that. Like I love the movie. I know there's a lot of interesting discourse about it. Like they're trying to put it into this whole generational split kind of movie, so you could see the older audience like the movie, but the younger people don't really see them with respect to like black actresses and black women being represented in the movie and so on. And I kind of understand the arguments, but as I say, I don't think it's mawkish nonsense like Green Book or anything like that, or even as ridiculous as Crash was. But I understand the arguments and how people get back and forth about it. So it's that. So yeah, I feel he will get through because again, did he ever win before? He didn't get through for
that's the thing. He never won. He was nominated for Best Director for I might as well say it now. There Will Be Blood, right? And Best Film for that film for that movie too, and he never won. So put up in a net, right?
So you probably get through.
Yeah. I'm also rooting for Sinners to win Best Editing, and not just for the scene, but again, just how these elements, these story elements, were put together. Like just the more I think about it now, you know what I mean? Yeah, I thought the editing for Sinners was great though, and the guy named, believe it or not, is Michael P. Chauvel. So it's like, hey, I rooted for Michael B and Michael P to win, right? But yeah, Coogler for Best Director, listen, I'm gonna be happier. You could feel like, listen, this is what I work hard for. This is what I suffer through with, Wakanda Forever. At least I power through that, become resilient, and I make it out. I will be personally happy if he make it, if he win that. But sorry, this is PT's win. He did too long. He did way too long. He deserved it, in my opinion, right? But yeah, speaking of Frankenstein now, even though part of me wish that it could win for Best Adapted Screenplay, I think PTA will win it. Because yes, he wrote the script off of the book of the same name, right? So yeah, I really think that PTA will win for Best Adapted Screenplay, right? Also, Best Original Score, Johnny Greenwood, right? For One Battle After Another as well, right? I mean, the score for that, is great though, especially that catchy scene though. I mean, goddamn, right? Speaking of Del Toro, right? Speaking of Frankenstein, yes, in addition to Best Supporting Actor, also rooted for this film to win Best Cinematography. Runner up for me will be Train Dreams.
Right.
Costume design, runner up for me is Sinners. Makeup and hairstyling, I mean, come on, like it's Frankenstein. Of course, you gotta win. Here's a joke though. Funny thing is, The Smashing Machine got nominated for Best Makeup and Hairstyle. It did not get a nomination for Best Actor. Like, is anybody surprised by this? No.
I didn't expect that. No.
Yeah, but I won't lie. The makeup for Smashing Machine was really, really good, especially how they make the Rock look. Like, that was real good. But yeah, you know what I mean? But that's Frankenstein's win, right? And production design. So I think that they go win in those categories, right? One surprise for me though, Best Animated Feature by K-pop Demon Hunters got nominated. Like what? Okay, you know what I mean? And even though my show, my favorite animated film of last year, Neja 2 was nominated, it was
I didn't expect that to get nominated. I mean, make money.
I know, but the first one got nominated. The first one got submitted, but it wasn't nominated. Right. So I feel, China was like, I think we good enough. But this is K-pop. They gotta win this, and all the K-pop fans could be freaking out of this. And of course, by the way, the song Golden got nominated, and they gotta win. Like no surprise, Golden gotta win.
Yeah, well, they did a big performance to the show anyway, right? But the big thing, I just going back to costume. Yeah, the little slightly controversial scenario is involving Avatar getting nominated for best costume, and I was like,
Oh, okay,
yeah, but
okay.
but I was now asking, would they wear the costumes in the show? And like, no, not really. But
No,
what you learn is
but
that
there
they
was
made live
design
action
of there
costumes.
was costume design in the show,
Right,
obviously. But
right,
that brings up a
right,
really good question, right? Can a film of
right.
that nature be nominated for best costume design?
I think that's the whole point. But they made live action costumes for that people were wearing, that people could wear, but it didn't. It wasn't in the movie, which is an interesting thing. It's like, yeah, it's a costume, so it's designed for real, but I suppose that counts. It's a weird. It feels like a little loophole. It feels a loophole. So it didn't bother me too much. But like, all right, whatever, it's fine. It just worth noting.
Yeah. Speaking of Avatar, Fire and Ash, best visual effects. I mean,
Right, right.
come on, right?
Okay,
It is nominated for best sound though, but
right,
nah, F1 gonna win that. And it's
okay,
so funny
right.
because
Right. Well, that's the
because
thing.
well,
So,
what's like it's funny that show I think will win because Joseph Kosinski's last film, Top Gun Maverick, also won for
right,
best sound. So it's like, yeah, he's
right,
clearly a sound man. I respect
right.
that, and yeah, I mean F1, like come on, man, it did, like F1 had a win, man. I mean, come on, yeah, you
No,
saying?
yeah, no. When we get to best film, we'll talk about F1 being there. It's like,
Listen, we actually could talk about it now, right? Because just
right.
like Top Gun Maverick, right? Boy, like when Paramount and Skydances push a film, boy, when they push a film,
That's the
right?
thing.
F1 for Best Picture, bro.
Yeah,
I
and I was
mean,
like, but in my head, I was like, well, F1 did make some money, but it doesn't make that much money, and so like it didn't blow me away in terms of thinking, well, where's this big thing for F1? And then,
you know, I wonder. I think it's because like Top Gun Maverick, even though it's like the big popcorn summer blockbuster, because people put it in the best of list and rank it as one of the best
no,
in
but
the
Top Gun
years.
Maverick,
Yeah, Academy is like, oh, okay, well
no,
that film,
Top Gun Maverick make a ton of cash, so
that's
I can
true, that's true.
understand why it was there. But F1 didn't make that much money. Like F1 made money. It did well, but it didn't make like where it makes this blow away everybody box office kind of numbers. So like, was he taking with F1? And then another thing too is that it had another movie that get completely stopped. That should have been not even best international, but best movie. Like in my opinion, but I was like, what, that over F1? F1 over that? I mean, Park Chung get total snub. So it's like,
Yes, boy, for no other
this one is not.
choice.
Yeah, no other choice compared to over F1. Like, come on, F1 over no other choice. Like, this is a little ridiculous. Well,
I agree, man. I mean, you have an OG like Park Chan Wook. I mean, I'd have been okay if he didn't get nominated for Best Director, right? But no, not even for Best International Feature. And it was
right?
submitted. It was submitted for that, right?
Right.
So I make the joke online that maybe the Academy did not want to give out awards to two South Korean films, right? Because K-pop Demon Hunters can win it, right? That's just my dumb joke, right? But yeah, just on Best International Feature, right? Cool that Sentimental Value got nominated, and it is going up for Best Picture as well. I don't know if you saw the film. Did you?
No, not yet.
Okay. We will be talking about this, or I should say, I will be talking about The Secret Agent, and it was just an accident. I'll talk about those a little bit later. But yeah, boy, no other choice could have been nominated, right? Just touching quickly on, just these shorts. Have not seen any of them. Usually one or two might pop up on YouTube. I'll keep my eyes open for that. As far as documentaries, haven't seen any of them, but I know that there's one that's nominated called The Perfect Neighbor, which is on Netflix. I heard a lot of great things about it since it dropped, but I just didn't get any time to watch it. So I will check it out for, another episode, right? About that best casting category, right? Yes, I do think that Sinners will win because it was just a stacked cast, so everybody just killed it, right? But I'll make the joke now that I have a feeling though, I should say, that the Academy may probably give it to one battle after another, right? I have a sneaky suspicion that they'll give it to that film, but I am rooting for Sinners to win best cast, and that'll be a big deal though, for a movie of that nature to win in for the first time in that category. That'll be a big deal, right? So you'll see what happens, right? So now for the big ones, right? Now we touching on, best actors, directors, all that kind of stuff, right? So actress now, right? So glad that the main actress in Sentimental Value, and that'll be Renate Rensvi. If I got the pronunciation wrong, please forgive me. Yeah, she got nominated. Also, we boy Stellan Skarsgård got nominated for best actor. That's cool, right? But I will talk about in another episode. I will talk about If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, and you will talk about Hamnet, right? But just letting you all know one time, it could be head-to-head between those two films. It will be Rose Byrne versus Jessie Buckley, right? I just kind of selling out myself here one time, even though I have not seen Hamnet. I kind of rooted for Rose Byrne, because she was great. She was fan-freaking-tastic in If I Had Legs, I Kick You, though. You could tell me how wrong I am when you talk about Hamnet, right?
No, I thought she was good, but like to me, I still listen. For all the thing, well, another snob we'll talk about with best supporting male, but who she was what, best supporting female or best lead? What called she? Emma Stone.
No, she is nominated for best actress,
Yeah, best lead. I was saying right. So I was thinking, Emma Stone could still get it for Begonia. She's like really good in that.
No, why I wasn't thinking about that though. It would be funny if she wins Best Actress for another Yorgos Lanthimos film. I was just thinking about that for a second. I was like, nah, man, nah.
Yeah, that you run. Yeah, I don't know. I find she's really good in Begonia. So it's like it's now that you're running for me.
All right, well, then again, I still haven't seen Begonia, right? Yes, I know. Right. I haven't seen it as yet. But my plan is to pick up the films that you talked about and were brought up on the show that I have not seen that were nominated, right? So at least when the Oscar ceremony happens, I could weigh in and say, yeah, she could have won or he could have won or whatnot, right? So, I already mentioned Best Director. I really think that it will go to Paul Thomas Anderson. But yeah, let me touch on Best Picture for a bit, right? So,
well, I mean, you still have Guillermo, though. Guillermo wasn't nominated.
Yeah, so big upsets. My boy Del Toro didn't get nominated.
Okay, right. Who's he five?
All right, so the five are Chloe Zhao.
Right, no, right. She could get you. Right. She could definitely get you.
All right. Well, I guess you'll tell me why you believe so when you talk about Hamnet, right? Josh Safdie though for Marty Supreme.
Right. He could get you too. Yeah, he could get you.
I need to see that film so I could confirm that, right? Joachim, if I got the pronunciation wrong, please forgive me. Joachim Trier for Sentimental Value. Much deserved. I thought that film was really, really good, right? And, Ryan Coogler, I mentioned that before, and PT for One Battle After Another, right? Right. But yeah, it would be a big deal if Ryan win, though. It would really feel like, just like a key moment in his career. But I really think he'll go to PT, right? Because now as a jump into Best Picture now, he has been nominated for Best Director and Best Picture twice. Well, twice now in his career, right? First time was with There Will Be Blood.
Right.
And I really think, honestly, that 2026 will be the year where he wins both in Best Director and Best Picture. I really think that One Battle After Another will win. Since the year ended, I've been hearing nothing but praise. Like number one, like the number one best film of the year was that, right? For me, it would have been if I didn't see Del Toro's Frankenstein. That should just hit me emotionally, right? But yes, I absolutely love One Battle After Another, and I really think that it will win, right? So I would say, as far as like runner-ups for me, the ones that I have not seen, that'll be Marty Supreme and Hamnet, and runner-ups in terms of what I did see would be Sinners and Frankenstein, right? So yeah, that's pretty much my take on that, right? But yeah, we rooted for Best Picture.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, as I say, One Battle After more than likely. But I don't know. I find I love Sinners, but I don't know, Frankenstein just it's just such a work of my work. Again, the reason it didn't make it high on my list is because I'm not into that, let's call it Byronic kind of vibe or whatever it is now. That is it. But everything else is really a fantastic work. Like to me, it's kind of Del Toro's, Oppenheimer in a sense, right? Like it's just really a culmination of his career, wherever it is. So I don't know, I find it just did, or I could see it getting through. But yeah, in terms of rooting for film, Sinners, of course, and One Battle After was my personal favorite. So yeah, I still think it's going to be One Battle After Another, because it's one of those movies that divisive in that interesting kind of political way, kind of back and forth, especially the political time and that kind of thing. And it's something like Crash, bullshit like Crash could get you. I feel it'll get you like that, that same feeling, even though I don't think it's as ridiculous as something like Crash or Green Book. But they have the same generational conceit kind of thing. I noticed that. I noticed the discourse around it kind of showing a sign that it's popular within people. So you can see.
Yeah, my concern though, even though I could easily answer the question, right, is the longevity of the film. I think just because it's
Right,
just so well made, it will last the test of time, right? It's just, I
right.
hope that people wouldn't make this to be some kind of big socio-political issue. Like, oh my god, like what the movie was really touching on and all that kind of stuff now. To
Well,
the point that
that's
they
the thing. I
make the
mean,
show
so
kind of dated as in the process.
right, right. Like I don't know, but it's one of those things because it's so explicitly political in its story and conceit. It's like, well, is a the product its time? I'm really sure we will find out. I don't know.
Alright, so speaking of Best Picture and Best Actor now, and the Best International Feature Film, I will talk about The Secret Agent, right? Because it's nominated in these three categories, right? Just on the subject of Best Actor, right? Wagner Moura, right? Who is a name that I'm not really familiar with, right? But he has been in the game for like a long while, right? And it just like dawned on me, like, yeah, like this man was like acting in like American films for a while, right? But yeah, he is the first Brazilian nominee in that
Right.
category. So that's kind of a big deal, right? Also, the director of the film, Kleber
Oh wait, yeah,
Mendonça
the
Filho.
fellow, yeah, the fellow is he was in Civil War, right?
Yes,
The,
he was in that.
yeah,
I forget that,
the lead squad. Yeah, I know him from the lead squad movies. Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah,
Mm.
not yeah, man.
Oh,
I
right, he
forget
was in
he
that
was.
too. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, back in
yeah.
the days. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean the man's a OG, right? The man's a veteran, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Also the director of the film, right? He did Baccarat, which was a film that I reviewed back in like what
right.
2021, I think it was. Absolutely enjoyed that film, right? So yeah, like I say, it's best and also best casting. So it's best casting in addition to best actor, best picture, and best international feature film, right? So I will talk about that best international category in a bit, right? So yeah, what it's about, right? So it's a Brazilian film, right? It's a period piece. It's set in 1977, right? So it's sort of it's a character study, right? But basically it's wrapped within this neo-noirish political thriller, but more plays out like a drama, sort of like a slice of life drama, but also a political thriller, right? So what it's about without spoiling anything, right? So we center on this former university professor, right? His name is Armando, right? He goes to this, well, I don't want to call it his hometown, right? But that's basically a place that he used to live at, right? We learn later on that his wife passed away or was possibly killed, but it's never really said how or why. It's never really said how, right? But you learn later on what led to it, right? So yeah, so he returns let me just say his hometown for now, right? There's this apartment complex that this old lady runs, so he goes there and he stays at this apartment. There's all these various characters who are there. You also learn that some of them are hiding from the Brazilian government because it has to do with the dictatorship that was going on around that time. Now.
Right.
So some people kind of fled to that area to more or less like hide and, just live out their lives without having to worry about being arrested or killed, right? And also his son is there, right? Because his father-in-law takes care of him, right? So what the show is centered on, right, is him being involved, or should say him being targeted by this professor that, well, basically they were supposed to work on a project together, right? And it's kind of like showing the whole class system back in the days, right? So he being this upper class guy was real looking down at him and his wife at the time, like, oh, you guys getting all this independent funding. Look at us. We getting funding from abroad, man. Look at us, right? And feathers were ruffled and, quarrels took place and whatnot. And there was like this huge resentment between each other, right? But, but our hero was just like, listen, I don't want none of that. I did what I had to do. I'm moving on with my life, right? But the guy, no, well, and he's this real rich, wealthy guy. Well, this wealthy guy, right? He just can't let go of it, right? So he hires these two guys, right? These two hitmen, basically, to go and find him and pretty much kill him, right? And well, basically, our hero runs into these individuals who help these refugees, as they call them, right? Let me just call them. It's kind of like a sort of like a, let me just say, sort of like a witness protection kind of thing that they do, right? So they're the ones who pretty much put our hero in this particular place, right? So they're like, here's what we need you to kind of stay in this place, so we're gonna make sure that you're okay, but just letting you know that these guys are coming for you, right? But at the same time, now he is trying to find out, about what went down with his wife and also with his, just something involving his mom in the past or whatnot, right? So, in a nutshell, it's just basically about Armando just trying to survive the times, right? And that pretty much in a nutshell is what the show is about, right? That trying to be as vague as possible with this, right? So for me, I went into this blind. I was hearing nothing but praise about this movie since it dropped. It was showing up in like top 10 lists and all that kind of stuff, right? Now that's a touch on the awards stuff a bit, right? So Wagner Moura, right? His nomination is rightfully deserved though, because acting wise, he did a fantastic job in this, right? And so the point that at times, like, I watch the performance, because he's reserved, he's mostly reserved at times, right? And, he's cool with it and casual with it, right? But then there's a moment near the end of the film, right? Where a character is introduced, right? Trying to be vague here. I just didn't watching the show. I just mind my own business, right? Like I know who the character is, the context of the show, right? But I just watching the show normal, right? And then the show had the goal to do this thing where they show you all the actors who work on the film, right? And then when they got to Wagner now, they show that character. I was like, oh shit, this man played 2 characters in the movie. And that second character was watching me dead in the face. I didn't even know it was Wagner now. I was like, that's why they nominated him. It's so brilliant how that man pulled it off. That I was like, wow. But in the context, it makes sense why he plays these 2 characters, right? That's all I'll say without spoiling anything, right? And also the title of the show is kind of misleading now because it kind of conjures up, it's a spy show, whatever it is, right? But there's a moment where a character is watching television and there's an ad for, I think it's either American movie or TV show called The Secret Agent, right? And the show also kind of touches on, well, let me just call it 70s nostalgia, more late 70s nostalgia, right? So from a directing perspective, right, I love just how it looks like it literally looks like you're watching a film from the 70s, right? Right down to the font, the choice of font and how the text is presented and all that. It legit looked like you're watching a film from the 70s. It actually reminds me of, the Holdovers, which Alexander Payne did a couple years back, which is set in 1970. But if you, like I said in my review, in the credits you'll see it was made in quotes in 1971, even though the movie came out in 2022 or 2023, right? So it's meant to look like a movie from the 70s, right? To that point. But this show is designed to look like it's from the 70s, right? But it also kind of pays these subtle homages to, movies of the 70s, right? Whether it's the political or spy thrillers. There's a running narrative about the movie Jaws. I'm not gonna spoil what it's about basically, but there's a running thing going on about the movie Jaws and its influence on Brazil at the time, you know what I mean? But really, it just blends political thriller and slice of life drama in this really weird but very interesting way, right? I say weird because it feels like it really does feel like you're watching. It feels alright. So without spoiling anything, right? At times, it feels like you're watching just a normal period drama, right? But then at times, you feel like you're watching some sort of political thriller, right? But it just always kind of, it finds like a sweet spot now. So you're just sort of watching it. So it doesn't entirely feel like those genres, but yet they are as well, right? That's the best way I could sum it up, right? And we just basically seeing this character who is just seeing all this dark, weird shit around him and just trying to make sense of it all. He just trying to live his life, right? And that's what I love about the character. The man just trying to live it. He not trying to get in no trouble. He not doing anything that'll put him in danger. He just want to live his life. He want to be there for his son because, again, his wife, not alive anymore. And that's it, right? But people just want to kill him because, he represents something that is against what the government was about at the time, right? And they just see him as a threat. But he's just, a former professor. That's what he is, right? When I went to the film, I thought that he was going to be some spy and he was working for those scene witness protection people. But actually, no. It's just that there's a moment where he gives a fake name, right? There's a reason why, right? I don't want to spoil it, right? So the way that whole sort of dual identity thing is very much like how a secret agent moves, right? Especially when you look at it like the Bond films in the 70s and, the 60s and 70s, right? That kind of thing, right? But really, it is about the look, it's about the aesthetic, it's about the music choices, some great music choices as well too. just that feel of just being in Brazil, right? Even though, I mean, we're not from Brazil, right? But like when I watch when I watch this film, it feels very authentic. It feels like, yeah, these are the times, these are how weird and
Right.
dark the times were. People trying to go about their day to day, but people can't speak out about certain things, because if they do, they get murked, right? They get killed, right? Or they disappear and whatnot, right? And that's what the show really is about, right? So yeah, there's a subtle irony to pretty much everything that you see here, right? Whether it's the emphasis on the Jaws movie, or a character like Amando, sorry, being in the uncomfortable position that he is, right? But yeah, directing is strong. The writing, I will say, right? So just into the film as a whole, right? As a wrap up here, right? This is a slow burn, eh? You gotta like brace yourself. You gotta have a coffee in hand or your water in hand, right? You gotta really focus on what is going on, right? Because this is a show that will reward you if you are attentive to it, right? And then of course, I mean, you had to read subtitles, eh? So yeah, you had to really take note of pretty much everything that's being said, right? Now, for me, my gripe with it though is that I felt like there's certain plot points that I felt could have gelled together better, even though I've been I've been reading about this with like reviews that I saw after watching film, right? Like it's supposed to feel almost like a fever dream, almost like, it's pulling from memory and like, oh yes, I remember that, but I don't remember all the details. So it has this sort of vibe to it where it gives you enough detail, but like there's certain little moments where they will hold back. They will not tell you what happened at this point, and it's just like, oh well, this thing happened, and you just had to treat it as, oh, this is just something that happened in the past. That's it. I wish things could have been better. I wish that thing could have played out better, but no, it is what it is, right? So it plays out like that, right? But there are a few plot points that I felt could have just gelled together, so I'm saying all this because even though I love how it ends, I still felt like, just narrative wise, they could have tied up one or two loose ends, right? That's the best way I could sum it up, right? But I would say just that gripe for me though kind of held it back from it just a bit, right? So while I am not over the moon with this movie, I still enjoyed it for what it was, right? Again, it's a show that is a slow burn, very slow burn, but it is one that you have to pay close attention to, because there's a lot of things, a lot of thematic things that going on that even though I wish they gel together better, it's still made for, a thoroughly entertaining viewing, right? Wagner is great in this, and I totally understand why this man got nominated for best actor, right? Much deserved in my opinion, right? But apart from before I jump into the next film, really think that this movie is going to win Best International Feature just off of the popularity and praise the movie got, right? Compared to the next film that I'll talk about, right? So at the moment, I will not be mad if it wins, but I kind of rooted for the next film that I'll talk about to win, personally, in my opinion, right? But for me, just off of my first viewing, I'm going to give this a decent 4 out of 5, right? I feel like if I give it like just a couple more views or maybe one more viewing, I could bump this up to like a 4.5, and I could say, yes, this was, one of the best films that I wish I saw last year, right? It is certainly a great film, but I just feel like if I watch it again, I'll be like, oh, okay, right? Because, I just went in blind, not really knowing where the show is going, where the show is going. And yes, I will admit I was misled by the title of the film. I was expecting more political stuff, more thriller stuff, but it's just this weird blend of slice of life drama with the political intrigue, right? That's really what the show is about, right? So I would say, check it out. It lives up to the hype. It certainly does, right? And again, I will not be surprised if it wins Best International Feature, right? But the film that I am rooting for, honestly, to win in that category is another film that was getting a lot of praise since it dropped. It was just an accident. This was a show that I wanted to see before year's end, and I just didn't get the time.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to. I knew it was singing. It's one of my favorite filmmakers, so it's like, yeah.
You're right. Yes, I know you're familiar with the guy because okay. Yeah, so I will confess, right, before we get to your thoughts on the guy. I still have not seen. This is my first film, the first film I ever saw from him, right? I haven't seen No Bears. I want to see No Bears. I remember you talked about how much you love that film, and it's the Criteria Collection. Well, it's like, cool, yeah. I want to see it.
Actually, my favorite of his is The Mirror. Mostly because The Mirror has such a bizarre twist in it. that you think, like I telling you it have a twist, and you will not pick up what the twist is. I'm telling you. Just go see it. Yeah, don't look for it. Don't try to look for it, but it will catch you because it'll have you blinking like, what happened here? But it's such a great switch up. I recommend the Mirror. That is my personal favorite. And then, yeah, because of where you're from, it's like a lot of political films. I forget the name of the film that came out 10 years ago. That was his last one before this one. And then the one before that is This Is Not a Film. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I want to see that just off the name of that title. Just off the title one and what the premises are like. I need to see
that.
No,
it's a real, like, a political film. Because the whole point is, well, I don't know if that's necessarily a spoiler, but it's him not... He couldn't make a film in Iran. Because it's just straight up illegal. So he's like, it's a whole protest film kind of thing. Really, like, politically relevant and whatever it is. So it's all like that. Yeah, I don't know, like, is what to do with the TV, but yeah, I didn't get around to seeing this last year. This would have, it was even on my list for, thing, unfortunately.
Yeah. Shows you what you saw, but it
didn't. Yeah, it slipped me, but I was like, oh, yeah, right, and I was kind of kicking myself, oh, yeah, right, Jafar Panahi movie came out this year. That kind of stuff. So, this very hyped for it, so yeah.
But I'm glad first of all that you know about Jafar Panahi, right? Actually, you know way more about him than I do, right? Because like I say, this is the first film I've ever saw of him, right? But he actually reminded me of the guy, I forget his name right now, who did a film that I put in my top 5. Not top 5 or top 10. That would be The Seed of the Secret Fig, right? Which is also from Iran. It was also from a director who had to kind of sneak. Had to make the film on the low, make sure that the authorities didn't pick up on him, and then sneak the film out to France to get edited and sent to Cannes, you know what I mean? So it's a similar thing, right? And I think just like that last film, right? Yeah, it was just an accident, won the Palme d'Or. It won the big award there, right?
Right.
So I just love the fact that this is what real inspirational about these Iranian directors, right? Filmmakers, right? Yeah, we talk about here in Trinidad, right? How hard it is to make a film, right? Because we see all these big American and these American and European and Asian productions. We tell ourselves we can't make that, right? Imagine being in a country where you can't make a film of a certain nature because if you do, you could get arrested or worse. Imagine that. Imagine having to make this film, right, with people who believe in your cause, right? And their careers can't blow up as much as they would want to, right? Because they're doing this thing in their home country, right? And to the point that you have to sneak this film out of your home country, get edited somewhere else now, and then release to the world,
Right.
That is dedication, right? That takes balls, that takes courage. That kind of shit inspires me, right? I just love that the final product, at least like with this film and the Seed of the Secret Fig, you really feel that courage, you really feel that passion, you really feel like, yes, this is a story I had to tell. This was not me half-assed it. No, I had to give it my all, and you feel it with this film, right? So, what this is about in a nutshell, right? And I really had to stress on nutshell in this case, right? Because compared to Secret Agent, right? This premise is so simpler, but yet it has so much detail, so much depth to it, right? So, it is about a guy who one night is just in his car with his family, and his car gives him trouble. And he stops off by he just driving, he finds this random place with a garage, like, hey, I need help. Help me fix my car, please. And he there, right? It's this, like, local garage, right? So, guy getting the car fixed, right? I'm not gonna say how, because it has a huge part to play thematically with the film, right? But there's a guy who works at the garage who realizes who this guy is. And you learn that the guy with the family actually used to work for the Iranian, if you will, authorities, right?
Right.
Yeah. So this guy used to work for the Iranian authorities, right? And his specialty was pretty much torturing prisoners,
right?
Like real serious torture, right? So the guy who works at the garage realized, oh shit, is that guy. That guy tortured me.
Right.
So on the following morning, man roll up after him, literally knock him out in broad daylight, put him in the back of the van and say, here's what, I gonna kill you, bitch. I gonna bury you alive, dog, in the desert. But then something happens now, and then the plan kind of switches. So he now has to go pretty much seek the assistance of another prisoner who has moved on with her life now. She's doing wedding photography, right? So she's in the middle of pretty much, photographing taking pictures of the bride and groom. And you learn now that the bride was also a prisoner of that guy too. So all four of them now, and another guy who they meet who was another prisoner. So now we have these 5 individuals now who have a prisoner in the back of their van, of the guy's van now. It's like, yeah, should we kill him? Should we bury him alive? Or just let him go, right? And then something also happens to the guy in question. And I'm not going to spoil what that is. And that's pretty much all I'll say about the show, right? So as I said before, right? This, I think, should win Best International Feature, right? And I'll say this too.
Right.
This should have been in my top 10, Jed.
Right.
I did not expect to enjoy the show as much as I did, right? For me, though, it's just how simple the story is. That's what really blew me away, right? It's just, this premise is so incredibly simple, right? But yet, it has so much emotional depth and weight to it, right? So, like, I don't even know much about Iranian history anyway, right? But, like, I love that the show doesn't even require you to know everything that what's going on, neither,
Right.
or like the history or whatnot, right? But you know just all the performances, you know from the premise that dark shit went down at a point in time in Iranian history, right? Even probably up to now, at the time of us recording this, right? So when these guys saying, hey, this one guy tortures Real Madrid, you feel it. Like, it doesn't sound like exaggeration at all. It really feels like, wow, like, they are echoing what a lot of people probably went through, for decades on end, right? And you buy into them trying to exact the revenge on this one guy, right? So, of course, as you would expect with a show like this, there's some sprinkles of dark humor through and through. Right? I love how, they try to do things and they just F it up at some points in time. They try to figure out, hey, how do we keep him drugged? How do we keep him knocked out? Keep him inebriated, right? What do we do, right? I just try to figure out the way, like, what do we do? Like, I just love that it just starts off with the guy wanted to bury him alive, wanted to bury, his tormentor alive, right? But then something happens, like, oh shit, well, I can't do that, like I had to get help. I can't just bury him just like that. I need to do something else, right? So I just love how the story, just to quote a reviewer of the film, how it just snowballs slowly from that point on, right? And it just leads to an incredibly powerful climax, right? So another thing I should say that I love about the film, right? The use of long takes in this, right? There's some great long takes. There's one involving our 5 characters in the desert, and it's just the camera mostly statica, just with them quarreling with each other, wondering what to do, right? And boy, mad props to Jafar for this, right? Just keeping things real simple. Man, just shift the camera left and then back, and that's it, left and right, but it's mostly in one, like, he just keeps the camera static, right? And it's just simple camera movement, right? And blocking as well, right? But again, with what is going on, though, it just says so much, right? While I was thinking about that one scene before I get to the climax, right? I was telling myself, this feels like you're watching a stage play, just the emotion, just the raw energy that they give with this moment, a character actually says, this kind of reminds me of a play, and he actually calls on the play and just the setting of it, like, that was really clever. Like, I didn't think, I don't know about the play, to be honest. I guess when you hear the name, you'll be like, oh yeah, he's right? But the setup of it, just the staging of it, if you will, really felt like you're watching a play, right? But yeah, when they got to that climax, boy, it's just one take, just this one take, one long take. Camera is mostly static at this point, and it's just raw, visceral energy, Jordan. It's just the anger just boiling out, though. The anger, the sadness, the rage, but it just reaches like a fever pitch in this moment. I just watch this thing like, dog, how they, like, how they pull it off, obviously, right? But it's like, how they pull this off, Jordan, in one take, I don't just talk about the camera work, I talk about the acting in particular, right? It's just so superbly done, right? And many people will see this about the film, right? The ending is perfect in my opinion. It's simple. Again, just simple camera work, simple blocking, right? But without spoiling much, it involves a sound effect. That's all I'll say. It's a sound effect and a visual to go with it. And it's just so effective for us. I watch it like, dog, this could have been my top 10. This is so well done, though, so brilliant, right? Acting, even though I don't know anybody in the cast, though, is great, right? This great in the sense of how natural it feels, right? So it's not like everybody giving off like an Oscar-winning performance. It's not like, say, Wagner in Secret Agent, but just how natural the characters feel and whatnot, right? It's just the conceit and how it all plays out, though, not in real time. It actually plays out over the course of a day, right? It absolutely works, right? It's awkward, it's absurd, but it feels tangible. It feels real as well, right? And you really buy into these characters saying, listen, we had to get rid of this guy. This guy was a problem. This guy pretty much messed up our lives. We had to do something about it, right? And you don't even have to know about the socio-political history of Iran to understand why these characters are angry, right? But last point I'll say before I get to Rita, right? The beauty about the movie, the absolute brilliance about the movie is how it starts, right? It's just a guy who just come to get a car fixed, That's all. It just start off like that. When you see it for yourself, Ricardo, and I must, slight spoiler, it's done in a long take as well too. It's kind of brilliant when you see it. Again, simple, but it works. It starts off with a guy trying to get his car fixed, and this leads to all of this, It's kind of brilliant. It's kind of brilliant, right? But yeah, as you can tell from my voice, I absolutely loved this film. This could have been in my best of. This could have been my top 10. Hell, this could have been in my top 5, right? But I fear that the Academy will give it to The Secret Agent because technically it is the more polished of the two films, right? While it was just an accident, have sort of like this Italian realism kind of vibe. The Secret Agent feels, and it's big. It feels like a big budget, sort of period piece, and it is a big budget period piece, right? You can tell they spent a lot of money on that film, right? Well, it was just an accident. I'm not saying they didn't spend money on the film, right? But it feels very indie. It feels very indie, and in a great way, in my opinion, right? It feels very like, let me just say, like, if this was a debut feature, like from a newcomer, like a first, like an up and coming, filmmaker, right? Like if this was like his first film, like his debut film, it would have looked just the way how this film looks like, right? But that's not me knocking Jafar for what he did, right? I think, yeah, it could tell like this man really put a lot of thought into what he was saying, what he was articulating visually, thematically, and, dialogue-wise and all that, right? Guy knew what he was telling. That guy told a great story. And again, it's just the balls it took for him to just get this out there to the world. And yeah, it's a story that, people have to be aware of. Like, people have to see this film and be like, yeah, like, we have a problem going on. Like, we need to be aware of this, right? And again, the way I was describing it here, yes, it was just an accident, should win, right? But I feel the Academy, as a wrap up here, I feel the Academy will come out and be like, well, look, but we give Secret Agent like 4 nominations though, so I mean, it could look bad if we give it 1. So I feel they will ultimately give it Best International Feature Film, right? But whoever wins, it doesn't stop me from really enjoying, like, I should say flat out loving It Was Just an Accident, right? So for me, I'm gonna give this a strong 4.5 out of 5. I feel with, like, if I just give it one more viewing, I might just bump it up 5 out of 5, right? But yeah, this is one of the best films that I wish I saw last year, but it is so well done, right? And to the point that I really need to check out Jafar's previous films, right? Especially No Bears, because that's in the Criterion Collection, right? I'd be so happy if this movie actually makes it to the Criterion Collection, right? So yeah, you have 2 great international feature films that are nominated. So even though I am currently rooted for It Was Just an Accident to win, I will not be surprised if if The Secret Agent wins, right? But both films are great in their own right, and yeah, I wholeheartedly recommend that you check out The Secret Agent and It Was Just an Accident.